Welcome to the Embodied Revolution Show with your host, Lora Coleman, founder of Embodied Revolution. This is a safe space to connect, grow, and rise into your highest embodiment with authentic identity. Twice a month, we dive deep into inspiring conversations, grounded strategies, and real life stories from women making bold moves aligned with their soul's purpose. So get ready for wisdom you can live, mindsets that transform, and the evidence that you too can rise stronger, wiser, and more in tune with your purpose. This is more than a show, it's a movement. Welcome to the Embodied Revolution. Hello. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Laura. Well, thank you for having me back. Good
Thank
morning.
you. So for those watching, this is my second time talking to Michelle, but I'm so happy that we're doing this again because now I know you better and I have some new questions for you. So I'm looking forward to it. And also, guys, we are both kind of under the weather. We both have a cold. We both have the sore throat thing going around. It is November 1st. So, the code is going around. So we both have our tea. So we're
Yes.
basically having tea together, like virtual cheers, having tea together. One question I want to ask you is, what are you embodying now?
That's really a great question. So, what am I embedding now instead? Hmm. I shouldn't have taken my Benadryl before I do this. So, no, what am I embedding now? It's really more really what I'm embedding now is really uh oh, that's very profound, Laura.
Mhm.
Embedding now is embedding resilience. I'm also embedding grace. I'm embedding hope and joy. Yeah,
So I was wondering that because the first part of your journey, I feel like was such a difficult time.
yeah.
And we'll tell the audience about that. And the second book is more where you are now. So I was kind of wondering the differences, like what you were embodying before versus now. Is that different or is it basically the same?
It's kind of a continuation, but a different because with a love like ours, it's really there's a lot of grieving. There's also a lot of reflection of the life that we live, and the grace, grief, and gratitude. It's like through grieving and practicing through gratitude while grieving, I was able to find grace and the continuation of the love that we shared. So instead of, don't get me wrong, I still have days that I cried, but with the gratitude, it helps me focus on moving forward and continue the love that we shared. And by sharing through the grace, grief, and gratitude, because each chapter of the grace, grief, and gratitude has a gratitude exercise as well as a reflection to the readers to their own story, that it will help others by sharing my stories and what helps me to get through to those grieving, and still sometimes grief come in waves, that that's there's hope, and that like after the long winter, or the spring comes, and then there's summer. So it's like going through the four seasons of life as well.
I love that. So I know I heard you say grieving. So let's tell your story. Where did this kind of whole revolution start for you?
About the whole revolution really starts. So when I love journalizing. I've always journalized, and I do like your diary and everything. So part of me coping up the grief is going through and part of the gratitude rituals that I have or practices is I write down everything, how I feel, and so on. And I shared it. I'm a financial advisor. That's my full-time job aside from others. So I was sharing it to one of my widow clients, this is the exercise that I did for myself. And she's a widow too, so we kind of go back and forth. And she used to be a coach and a speaker, and now she's completely retired. And she was telling me, you know what, Michelle, why won't you do put your business out, write it down like in a workshop kind of form and kind of thing. And we just look at it like more like over a cup of tea. It's not even like a formal workshop, but getting through the notes. So that was kind of where I said, oh my God. And then she said to me, one of my sorority sister in California, her daughter just became widow at age 45. So maybe you could relate it because of the age bracket wise, because I live in cave. So most of the widows that I encountered are a little bit older than me. So it's like, so this was kind of said, yeah. And so like, you know what, maybe this would be your next thing. Like, you're already helping us with our financial and retirement goals. This is your other thing, like more holistic and helping us with your story. Your story helps us and bridge that holistic kind of approach.
Right.
So,
Right. So, for
yeah.
those who haven't read the book or haven't heard of the first book yet, first off, what are you doing? Go get the book. But second, let's bring them into what the first book is really about for those who don't know your story. Like, what happened with Jerry and you that really started this whole gratitude journey and this gratitude awakening as I see it?
Thank you. So, for just a quick synopsis, so you better buy the book. So, I'm just going to do a teaser. So, A Love Like Ours is really a story, a reflection of, we were diagnosed 6 months apart with cancer, right? And cancer has this D word or C word, like you're like, oh my God. But we didn't let cancer defines us, but instead we didn't let cancer takes the best of us, but in return we took cancer as a friend. And what I mean by that is that having cancer as a friend, because it's all about mindset and how you put out there, is that we have the best 2.5 years of our lives together. That's why our love becomes stronger. And it also happened during COVID. So we're really literally in this together, just him and I, and the doctors and our oncologist team. So it's a story. It's a story, of course, there's a story of grieving, there's a story of loss, but there's story also of love, that love and kindness that we get from strangers, from friends across the globe, because that's what helps us, during the to keep help us to stay strong, to stay positive, regardless of the situation with the cancer and the COVID simultaneously that we are both facing.
Mm-hmm. So basically, like the cancer was unstoppable. Like there was nothing that anyone could do to help the cancer. So, in your perspective, it was like, okay, how can we actually face this cancer together? Would be to enjoy life now, to show gratitude now, and see how we can take the joy of the days that we have. Is that
Yeah,
back at you?
that's really what it is, and it's we've been practicing gratitude individually before, and then and but he has his own practice, I have my own practice, but what cancer brought us is that we practice gratitude together, and
Wow.
we are more intentional as well with our time together and our gratitude, and having those challenges during facing cancer, the chemo treatment, and not having a chemo because of the platelets down and all these things, instead of saying like, and then we're like, okay, my gosh, we cannot have chemo down, so like, oh, look at it this way, we could go kayak right now because there's no chemo. So we didn't stop living. That's what the message of this, because I heard before I approached one of an organization here that I want to do like an author's talk, and they're saying like, oh, we don't really do things that are so like sad story or things, but
Mhm.
I don't want to. And this is what I was doing a love like ours, and going through the process that I met different cultures and different beliefs as well, and we don't really normally talk about death in our Western world, right? But in Eastern, like in Buddhism or in other things, it's really part of life. And there's a really like um one book, the I forgot it, it's oh my god, I should have known it by heart, but it also helps me face death and talk more about that. So what I'm saying is, with that a love like ours, we're putting a light on about how Jerry and I talk about what's inevitable, because it's not a matter of if, but it's just a matter of when. And that when you love someone, we always say that, how grateful we are that we know that our time is limited, but now it's really know that it's closer, is that we have this time to prepare for the other person. Because when you love your spouse, that you want him or her to life continues as easy as it can be, when you're gone. So that we have our SOP. We did our thing like what do we. I have my own survival list that I made for Jerry if something would happen to me first because I had cancer as well, or if he goes first, what will be my survival kit? So those are the things that when I look back and putting that book together, and it's actually mentioned in A Love Like Ours, that it's not really just sadness, that there you could approach it and it's how you see life. And that's where gratitude really became more intentional and became more powerful part of the 2.5 years that we're battling together.
Right. And so you both were diagnosed with cancer. So
Yes.
that's an important part of the story as well, because it was like almost like you guys were taking turns taking care of each other and keeping each other in that mindset, kind of going back and forth. And that is one thing that I noticed in the book whenever I read it was even though he was going through these things, he was you can tell me more about it, but I know there was a part in the book where it was like, no, I have to get out of here because I have to go take care of Michelle. Like
Yes.
even he was going through his own thing. So it really highlights the care that y'all had for each other. So can you kind of explain like how the cover of the book goes with this story? Like what's like so I'm gonna pop it up. So this is the book, A Love Like Ours. So like how did you come to this cover?
That's a great question. So, Jerry, we live in Cape Cod, and there's a nice hotel here called Chatham Bars and Inns, and it's really over because you look at the Atlantic as you go down to the pavilion. There's a nice staircase, and summertime is full of hydrangeas, and it's really like a picture perfect. So we love to go there, having a cup of coffee in the morning, or watch. It's really beautiful with sunrise, and ergo at if there's a full moon, it's really also nice and beautiful to watch that the moon rising and the sunset overcasting the water. So that's what it is. That's what the book and the holding hands. Because we always hold hands. We always travel together, hold hands together. So that was really like a love like ours. And which I choose that cover also because it's a memoir. It's not like some of my friends said, "Oh, maybe a photo of you and Cherry." But I said, "No, you know what? There's already photos of us in the book." So I want it to be more so it speaks also to other people. So that's why the hold hands and it's Cape Cod. So that's the why behind it.
Yeah, and I love the pictures in the book of you and Jerry because when reading it, I was thinking like, I wonder what Jerry looked like. Like I wonder like these traits kind of just brings it back to life to be like, oh wow, this is, and I know it's based on a true story, but it really just drives it home that this was someone's life. This is a real woman telling a real story. And that's what I like about the book is that it's not from an author of years and years at that time. It was just like, I'm a real woman sharing my story for people who can get hope from this. And that kind of like drove it in for me. And even the cover, like with the holding hands, it's just really representing we're in this together. So we're going to pop up a picture and you can kind of tell us about it. So this is Sherry. So tell us like what is going on here? Like what do you see here whenever you look at this picture?
Oh my God. When I see that picture, it really brings so much smile on my face and memory. So this is actually during his chemo. So his chemo, if you look at more closely, if you get the picture, he actually has a bag of chemo, like a wiring here and a chemo thing. So Wednesday we go to the hospital. He will have his blood work and everything. And if everything is good, he will start his chemo. He will spend 2 or 3 hours there. And then he comes home with me with a chemo bag. So the chemo bag is good for 3 days, and so but he was also so this is really him. I mean, he's an interior finish carpentry by art, and we always joke it around, And you guys that are self-employed, you could get them in. So like with being self-employed, we always have fixed um, we have our fixed expenses but variable income, and I always tease him around like, if I look at all the houses that you do in Chatham, Jerry, or in Orleans, they look so fabulous, and I come home and our house is all like this, and our bedroom, and we need all these things. I said, well, when we have money, we don't have time, and we don't have time when we have time, we don't have money. So during the chemo treatment, he literally in between, and he feels good, he did so many interior renovation inside the house. So this is the guest room that he's trying to do, like finishing the, I don't know, the exact construction word, like clacking it out so that he could start painting it. So, and he just, oh, can you just do a smile? And so that was very nice. So even when he is, because sometimes the chemo makes him really down, but sometimes in the first 2 days he's really okay. So when he has that energy, he does finish the house. So we did our guest room, and we also did our basement together.
And I know that he was pretty adventurous, like to travel. So
Yeah.
we're going to wrap around to this. So I noticed this picture that you sent me. Is this like a traveling?
No, this is in Cape. This is so close to our house. It's five. It's
Okay.
actually 5 minutes drive from there. So we both love to kayak, and but and he loves to fish, and he has this fish finder. So fish there. Yeah, I told him you cannot go back home without a fish because you have a fish finder in your kayak. So when he decided to stop his chemo, that was June of 2021, and Jerry's summer baby's birthday is in July. So like, I want to have the best summer of my life without chemo,
Wow.
without work, without pressure. So when we can, and even summer, so we go to the pond or we go to the beach and we kayak, we spend. So that was Jerry's last summer alive. So that was a month before his birthday, and that was in June. So we spent the whole day at Goose Pond, and we just really kayak. I was paddle boarding because we have one kayak, one paddleboard, and I was taking pictures while I was paddleboarding, and he was just getting off with his kayak, getting to the water with his kayak.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
if you're listening to just a podcast and you can't see the video, it's him in a blue kayak and some really clear water. But I love that picture that it's just like this. When I see this and hear your story with it, I hear like this, it's like the meaning of living. Like he was off the treatment, he was just like feeling good and just like getting the most of his days, which, I hate that that happened to y'all, but this picture does represent what you have told me about Jerry so far from meeting you the first time and now of just him enjoying his days. So like I think it looks like a really good memory. So
Yes, and that's what I love. Like ours is. It's not just a sad
right.
story. It's really what life is,
Yes.
and with life, there's that. Oh, now I remember the book, The Tibetan's Way of Living and Dying. So that's
Okay.
what.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember you telling me that before. Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say. Like you took the words perfectly. Is like that it wasn't that book is not just about like he had cancer, I had cancer, and like all these things, but it's about living, loving, like all these memories that you'll have.
Yeah.
That's why like I love the title A Love Like Ours because it's really like we had such an amazing love that some people don't even have.
Yeah.
So I kind of love that picture with that. And then we also have, I want to bring this up, the map behind you. So I also have a picture of the map. So we see it behind you. And this is the map behind her, which I'm just going to pop it up to show. So can you explain the map to us and the big idea of like the postcards and all of that? Because I just love like everything that you're doing. I'm obsessed. So like kind of tell us about that.
Oh, you're so kind. So a love like ours is also we love to travel. So the map behind me, and thank you, Laura, for the opportunity to explain because people were asking, is that there's
So,
before there were two pins only, the red and the green. So the green are the places that Jerry and I would love to go together. So this is our entire life basically as well. We don't have kids, so we don't give each other gifts, like bags, but our gift to ourselves is the travel. So that's why all the spins. The red one are the places that we have been together. And I promised Jerry, and a promise that I keep to myself, that I will continue on traveling. So after Jerry's passing, I still go to those green, but because I don't want to just I don't want to put red because he's not there. He wasn't there with me physically. So I put white on the places that I go or I went without Jerry rather. So after Jerry's passing, so after October 12 of 2021, the green becomes white. So there's still a couple of greens that I will still have to go. But Laura was asking me earlier, what am I embodied now after things? So when I will say that before I married too young. So I was a daughter, I was a granddaughter, I was a girlfriend, a wife. then a caregiver, then a cancer patient, then in a widow. So what am I right now? It's really me, Michelle, embracing life, sharing my stories, and hope that my stories would, if it could help one or three person or ladies, then they could help them. It comes because gratitude is a ripple effect. Then I done my part, leaving this place better than I found it. Because when I look back, with cancer too, and you're reflecting and stuff, is that you help your clients with their financial needs and everything, but that's who define you as who you are as your career, but who you really are as a person. And that's what more make more profound to me right now, and that's more of my passion now too, as I go as a, like the Michelle 2.0, or simply Michelle that I just didn't, I mean, relearning who I am. It's kind of that, because I spent the first half of my life having those five titles, and then now are wearing those hats, and now it's me.
Yeah, I love that. So this is the second book, which, like, speaking of Michelle 2.0, grace, grief, and gratitude. And I feel like this perfectly defines you right now. Like, you have the grace and you went through the grief, and of course you're focusing on gratitude. What is the reasoning for the beach? Is there
So the beach is, I grew up in Philippines. The beach is really being, for me, when we moved to US, one of the things that it has to be closer to the water, and there's a direct flight, an international flight coming in. So those are two non-negotiable. So the beach, I'm a scuba diver. So beach gives me tranquility. It gives me peace. And so that was really it. And why also the beach? Because I associate grief with waves, so that they can come and go. So there's really no time frame for grief. So like, I know there's like the seven stages of grief, and I know, and some people, every individual grieve differently. So, but
Mhm.
I also know from experience that even though it's 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, it's gonna be a part of you, and I know that now. And being a diver and loving water, to that respect, I associate grief as kind of a wave, that it comes and goes, and there's tranquil moments, and because that it's there, but the wave doesn't stay also, right? It could be a high waves, and then that's where, like, you're really pouring tears, and then it slow down. So that's how and that's why the cover of the book.
is the waves? Cool.
Yeah.
And you said you know that now. So do you feel like, so what did you say? You said, like, okay, yeah. So you said you know that now. So I'm wondering, like, do you feel like facing that, like accepting that grief is going to come and go, that is what helps you cope with it?
Exactly. That what helps me cope with it, and that what also helps me um, when I experience grief, or when grief visits me. I know that I acknowledge it, but I also know that there will be calmness after that. So it's not just so, and I do accept it now too. Like when the grief comes, it's a good feeling to, like, I want to tell you something. Like 2 days ago, after our thing, I actually end up crying because I finished the French version of A Love Like Ours, and it's
Mhm.
gonna be actually in November. It's November already. There's two back-to-back launch: the Grace, Grief, and Gratitude, November 8th, and then the French version of A Love Like Ours. And I cried, and it's at a grip because it's a bittersweet, because reading it in a different language, it also, and I don't know it, reading it in French, it touches my heart more because it's the romantic, I guess, with the wordings, but it's also brings back the unselfish gift that Jerry gave to me on his last remaining days. And because when he stopped doing his chemo treatment, and it's even in A Love Like Ours book, in the book there, that he said that we need to find a good distraction for you when I'm gone, because I'm stage 4. He will say that like as if it's a victory, right? Or say, I'm stage 4 esophageal cancer, so I will go first. He would do like to me. So you will be here longer, and you're still young, so you have to find some distraction that could really help you live, because we don't have a kid, and like when you're kids, it's different. I mean, if you have kids, so what
Mhm.
you're saying, like you always have passion of learning and traveling, so why won't you learn French? And it was really that, and then promise me, Michelle, that you will go through it. Like it's not like after that. So, and it's a promise that I keep to him, and a promise that I keep to myself. So So when I saw the French cover of the book and everything and planning for the lunch on my birthday itself, or 2 days after my birthday, it pinched my heart. It really literally, and looking at the photos, and it reminded me of the trip that Jerry and I had in France for a couple of times, and the thing. So it's and I know that it's not that I know myself that once my plane touched down in France in November, the 27th of this month, it will be a different kind of feeling, and it will be an emotional roller coaster for sure, and that's grief. So
Yeah.
grief
Uh,
is the price that you. One of my friends said, Michelle, sorry, Laura, grief is the price for of love. So the more love you have to someone, the more grief comes to. So maybe.
yeah. And I did notice that you do speak about selfishness in the book. And when I speak to you, can you explain that a little bit more? In the book, you say like you were kind of being selfish in a way, but then it took your higher self to kind of notice you were being selfish
Okay.
versus like his unselfishness. Like I've never thought of that before because like I've never dealt with something like this, and that's why this story is so important. So can you kind of like explain how you saw that?
So how I saw that, because when I was raised Catholic, and I'm still Catholic. Okay, so for those families that will see these videos, I'm not changing religion. I'm just open to learning other religions. So
Right.
so what happened is that being Catholic, I always want Cherry to fight, like not to give up, and for and I always know that when it's our time regardless. But he was already saying, like, I want to stop the chemo, and I really want to, life, and I want to prepare you, and I want to prepare us. We're going to have the survival kit. Like me, I always have the financial kit because that's how I was wired. But him, and so when one of my first French instructor gave me that book, The Tibetan's Way of Living and Dying, both in English and in French, it made me realize that how selfish of me thinking, because um, from him, I want him to be with me still. Like I want us to celebrate birthdays together. I'm looking at this map, like, man, oh my god, there's so many green that we still have to go. But I haven't put myself into his shoes, that if because he always tells me, because his cancer was esophageal, that, Michelle, I don't want to be in the tube. Like if I cannot drink, or if I cannot eat anymore, don't, like, and it's not like but the DNR, it's really the do not resuscitate. That's what's really the trigger of the conversation. Like I said, I don't want, I really want a DNR. And
Mm.
it was, and for me, I said, like, why? Because then, like, for me at that time, I said, like, if you will sign the DNR, then you're actually kind of giving up, like you're not fighting for us. And so it took me really a while, and I said, like, okay, then it's so selfish of me to ask that for him, because he's not gonna be the same Cherry. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, so that's where I'm at by being selfish, because I want him to be here with me, but it's not gonna be the same. So that's why I said in my book that I always wanted to spend the rest of my life with you, but I'm humbled and really blessed and grateful that you spent the rest of his life with me, because Jerry died in my arms. It was me, Spike, and Jerry in the basement. We set the basement as like a hospital room and everything when he had a seizure and he can no longer talk. So we shared our last kiss. And how many couples, regardless, we've been married 23 years, been together for 25. How could say that I shared the last kiss with my husband? Like literally his last breath
Yeah.
was with me. And I will always have that. And that's what makes me move forward who I am now, because of the unselfish love and the strength that it gave me.
That he taught you and it affects you today still, and help make this amazing woman that's in front of us. I literally have goosebumps just because it takes women like you to be honest, to help other people to know like this is normal. Like if there was a side of you, and maybe there was before, but if you were kind of like, I don't want to share that part of the story because it makes me sound this way or that way, your honesty, I feel, is your purpose in this journey because what you just said is so eye opening. It's so impactful, even beyond, and I feel like it's a good way to honor Jerry's passing in life, however you want to see it, because it's just you can't find that honesty everywhere. So I do want you to know, like anything that you do after this, I know you have big moves coming up, you have big ideas. Like
We're gonna be working together.
yeah, keep
Collaborating together.
because like what you just said is not something that everybody could do. So I do kind of want you to feel that even if it's like after this interview, go like journal and be like, I'm the best, But no, like that is very impactful. And like I kind of feel like after this interview is over, I would ask everyone who's listening to take a moment of silence for Jerry and what Michelle just told us in his honor. So if you guys are listening, like anyone listening, um, just yeah, take a moment of silence for Jerry and just soak in what Michelle just said because I feel like it's that important. Okay, you're not crying.
It's, I thought you were here because I have running nose, not because I expected to cry.
I know, this is the second time I made you cry, and the second time I talked to you.
Yeah, well, Jerry always said to me once that, and even I mean, it's funny, right? Both Jerry and Coco Chanel said that, just be your Coco Chanel said that, just be yourself, darling. Everybody else is taken. But
Yeah.
Jerry said that. Jerry said to me before, like when I started my book of business as a financial advisor, and I said like, sweetie, the people will come to you or your clients will come because they choose you. Don't rush it and don't lose who you are, because there was like, I mean, life as it is, it's challenging, and there's always the thing that is talking about honesty and everything, and this is a the problem with lies, Michelle, is that you have to remember the lies, and you will get caught if you're just true to yourself. No one like it's you. So it's really, and yeah. So that's one of the things. Like, because when we were, he loves to write, and said, oh, maybe we'll do it like a fiction kind of nonfiction when we were, because that was really his idea about this book. And then later on said like, no, it really has to be authentic. That's really us. So that's the other thing too.
Yeah, no, that is true because anybody in reality, and this is something I say a lot, anybody can sit here and say gratitude is important, like strength is important. But what makes people feel you, feel your truth, and want to work with you and want to read your book is that authentic piece that's coming out that we can literally feel that frequency even through the screen. So, whoever said that, I agree with that person. And I also want to go back, like we talked about the traveling and the map, but I do want you to kind of explain the gratitude postcards and kind of that ritual of when you travel new places. Because I'm going to do that and I feel like it should be a movement. I'm probably going to attach a resource of some kind of like a gratitude reflection that we can do while we're traveling after talking to you. So if you can like kind of spread that awareness, that would be amazing.
Thank you, Laura. So, what we do on our, there's two rituals that we do on our last evening, or the last day, should we say, the last day of wherever we're going. So we took postcards and then we sent it to our friends, but we also sent it to ourselves. So so we have a PO box. It's just like the vacation kind of continues. So when we come back home, there's this postcard, or a couple of days after, there's postcards that we when we open our PO box. So, and it brings back all these times, and it even goes back. So then we scrapbook this postcard. Can you believe it? Like, we are really dating ourselves. And now, like, I'm just going to say, oh my god, how many scrapbooks do I have? So we scrapbook these postcards, because before we also before the digital things, and now I'm going to more digital, but we really we created a album on each trip, and then the last of the pictures that's there is the postcard, so that
Mhm.
always reminds us of where we are. And I still continue with that tradition. So when I go to these places that I go without Jerry now, I still do the postcard, and I was like, I made it here, sweetie. So that tradition is still on. And so, and I still funny because there's two people that calls me sweetie, my uncle that passed away, and Jerry, and they passed away 2 days apart. And one time my aunt was saying like, I think that sweetie is just really like, no one can call you sweetie because you call still Jerry sweetie. So it's like, we have to find you another name to put you smile. So, and one time one of my friends just come, and I don't know, maybe it was Jerry's signing, because I was in France and I was getting my card to send to myself, and said, "Oh, come on, sweetie, let's go." And I really turned around, And I said, "Were you?" I said, like, "Yes." I said, "Where did you?" Say, "I just don't know, Michelle." I just said, "Come on, sweetie." So we were just like, "Okay," but it was different. And so why I'm saying this is that it's a good way to, like, with my friends also, where, because my friends love to travel as well, so they look at it like when they receive postcards from me, like, oh, maybe we'll put that as our new destination, or we could ask, we share ideas and vice versa. But it really brings so much smile to my face. And even traveling right now without him, continuing the tradition is one way of honoring also the life that we shared, although I don't do a scrapbook now with that one.
So I see it as, even if someone else was to do it, it's a good way to take that intentional time to reflect. Because every time I travel somewhere, I haven't done a postcard, but I always find like a really pretty spot, and I take that time to reflect and just show gratitude that I'm there, that I had the money to get there, that my family is there, that I had the health to get there, and all these things. And I feel like we could get so busy, especially if you're there for like a conference or something. I know the last thing I went to, I was there for a conference. So it was very like go, go, go. I was like running like to stuff, me being me. And like it can be easy to not take that time to reflect and intentionally be, in gratitude. So I feel like if you start that practice, even for anybody else, it's forcing you to put yourself in that state, which is then going to attract more gratitude and more abundance. So I love that idea of, whenever anyone travels, maybe send a postcard of gratitude to someone else, and kind of just know, it was like a Michelle Ferguson thing. Do you still have the scrapbook of like your past postcards?
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to see a photo of that on Instagram if
Yeah.
you're.
Oh, yeah. I will do. Yeah, I will do that. Yeah. And
So,
it was even before. Like, it was funny because, um, the first travel that we had together was in 2000. I mean, we traveled, but here, I mean, in starting from you. Oh, this, by the way, is the travel just within the United States. I mean, meaning when we move back to US. So the travel that we had in PI when we go to other places in Asia, it's not included there. But so the first one is, I even go to CBS and promote things with, like, print all these photos and get all this scrapbooks, because, and then now I use Shutterfly or what have you. But yeah, so I do have this. Thank you for reminding me. I should put that in Instagram, and the note that we made to ourselves, like we did it, and signing, and yeah.
so what would the postcard sound like? Like, what's an example?
Also, we made it, sweetie, where's next, and then with the heart thing and stuff. So it's really like cute stuff, like sometimes we call it like kindergarten stuff. Yeah. Or like, or for example, like there's one, like when we went to Vienna, and we went to the Sound of Music, and my full name is Maria Michelle. So then I have this, and it was actually funny because Jerry said, "Oh, we have to really print this." So he took a picture of his phone and me eating the cake, and then he said, like, with the one, and it's like, he put this, like, how to solve a problem like Maria because of the Sound of Music. And then he said, just give her wine and cake.
Yeah, he's got a good sense of humor. I
So,
can,
so it was funny. Now that I just, yeah. So when you do that and when you read it, it's like, oh my gosh.
yeah, that would make such a cool kind of shadow box, like putting the postcards together and putting it in a shadow box or a frame. I think that would look pretty cool. So I definitely want that to like. I'm just gonna send postcards from now on, and I love the personal touch of like getting it in the mail
Yeah.
for someone else, and not just like email, because everything is social media, things like that. So I kind of love that idea as well. Okay, I been stalking your social media.
Yay, someone does. I'm honored.
That's what I do in my spare time. I just, yeah. And I noticed this quote, so I wanted to pop up this quote because we're almost out of time here. But so gratitude doesn't erase the pain; it gives it purpose. So I really like felt that quote. If you can elaborate on this using your story, like why is this so important to you?
Why is it so important to me? Because I at a very early age, my grandparents taught me to give back, to pay back forward. And that's really has been ingrained in me growing up. But when you started your career, and you have new relationship and everything, those kind of things, although it's always your foundation, it's a back burner, but it never bring into fruition. So when I look at grief and what happened to me and the gratitude practice along the way, gratitude doesn't really erase the pain. It helps you acknowledge the pain, but it also gives me purpose because I believe now, and with my story and with how I cope up with, and there will might have another podcast about this, that now
Mhm.
regardless of political affiliation, that um, now I understand why there's a lot of Americans that went into medical bankruptcy and etc. And I know it's a topic, but I experienced that with Jerry too in some of my talk, or even with my one-on-one with my clients. Now I really do the importance of having the planning, but also how important is paying back, because we have this I mean, sorry to sound corny, but what really keeps me also sane and get through those navigating those uncharted waters, because there's no book as to how to grieve and stuff, is getting little help by friends and the community that I am in. So it gives me purpose to pay back, to pay it forward. And through my stories, as I said earlier, that if it would help one or three women, and that one or three women knows other three women that, or men
Right.
that, or even men, for instance, because one chapter of the grace, grief, and gratitude is love across cultures, and how different cultures, different beliefs, with gratitude having coming up with one culture together that you could practice together. So that's kind of neat. So it gives me purpose and it helps other people. Then I'm leaving the place better than I found it. And that's also the legacy that when they think of Michelle, they're going to say, oh, she helps me with the retirement. But I would love to say, like, you know what? She did her part. I don't want to like something like that. So if I'm gone, I did my part.
Right. Yeah.
And if when I'm gone, because I know it's just a matter of time. That
Yeah. Yeah. When I hear you speak, I hear like purpose, impact. And that is what I see coming out of you more and more in the short time that we've known each other. But it really is like I see that energy coming out of, what you're saying is true about that is creating a legacy. And that is what I see you doing. And, it's partly Jerry's legacy too, because like you kind of took his
yeah, yeah.
parts of him and and then after you that legacy will live on through many women, and that's kind of what we're trying to build here through your brand, my brand, anyone else, empowering women's brands, and like why we're sharing stories is for that reason. So that is important, and I want you to know that like I do notice this energy coming out of you and seeing you grow. I also want to point out that in the second book it is a bit different because it has the practices. So can you kind of tell us like real shortly like how is the
They have to
second?
get the book.
Yeah. The second book is an elevation of the first one. So the grace, let's see, grace, grief, and gratitude.
Yeah.
Can you kind of tell us about how it's an elevation of your journey of your first book?
So in the first book, I took about the gratitude and how gratitude carries me with the uncharted water. The second book is really the action. So the how to there's the why I do it, why gratitude, but how does gratitude work feels like. So couple of exercises, and to get the rest of the exercises, you have to buy the book. And
Mhm.
there's a lunch a week from today, and there's some special prices also. So you have to stay tuned to the social media. I'm plugging it. So but so there's the gratitude practice. So one of this is that one of the reflection is that write down one of the three things that you are grateful for.
Mhm.
So when you talk about, because when you look at the grace, grief, and gratitude, you might say, do I need to be, or do I have to experience loss? Do I have to experience grief? But loss can be also, doesn't have to be someone dying. It could be also a loss of a job, because that's also kind of grief also. When
Mhm.
you lost the job. So it's that, or the other thing also in that exercise there as a reflection is that coming from two different cultures. And one of the advanced readers review actually was saying that he is married to an Asian, a Filipina. So like reading the book helped him realize how important to have, a sit down like list of things, like what are the things that you are like in your family tradition. So that's part of the exercise or the reflection there. And what are the things that's from his side or your side, and then you come up with one. And then how does gratitude, so it's really kind of neat. And for business owners, there's a SWOT analysis there, there's a monthly budget worksheets there. So, and then how does gratitude also plays into that one? Because I mean, gratitude, I think it opens a lot of doors, and it makes you focus on what you have instead of what's missing. And with
Yes.
all
So
the
that's,
exercises there.
yeah, that's grace, grief, and gratitude. And I really like that idea because what you're saying, it's like it's a one-stop shop. Like, yes, it's grace, grief, and gratitude, but like you're saying, you don't really have to necessarily be going through grief to for one resource to change a lot of things. So I know what the SMART goals are, and like also including the feelings in it, that is very important. So like even one resource can be impactful for like the long run, much less like many multiple resources from somebody with the story, such as this book. Like that's priceless right there, right? Because that thing you can keep taking on and on and on and on. So yeah, I feel like that's amazing. So we're wrapping up because of time, but what is some kind of advice, like if you could give just one piece of advice to people who are going through something like this, what would you say to them? Or like, what would you say even to your past self going through that?
To my past self, um, remember to be kind, um, because sometimes you forget to be kind to yourself. So, to the
Mm,
women out there, or to men, or any individuals that are caring or a caregiver or experiencing cancer, or still, my heart goes to you because I know how it feels like. I've been there.
mhm,
I want you to know that it's not going to be easy, and I'm not here as a professional, but I'm just sharing you that if you choose to practice gratitude, or you incorporate gratitude, you might find some solace and some comfort with that one. Um, be true to yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't think of it that you are so strong, or you're I mean, we are strong, but sometimes you don't want to uh, inconvenience others or disturb others. But you might as one of my friends said, like, by you not asking them for help, or not saying, like, if they ask you, like, because sometimes people will say, how can I help you? And then
mhm,
and it happens to me, I say, like, oh my God, they already know that I'm doing this thing, blah blah blah. I mean, why do they ask how could I help? But because they don't know. But if you will tell them, and then, because if you don't answer them, then you're kind of handicapping them to helping you. So don't be afraid to reach out. Then if they don't, then just okay, because you will meet people, and I know now why I met Laura. You
mhm,
meet people for a reason, and some of them will stay with you for a specific season in your life, and some will stay longer. Just like, in a train or in the plane, you meet people, right? And sometimes you've got good connection with your seatmate on the plane, that you end up working with them. That's what happened to me in one of my jobs. But it's really that's to be true to yourself. And the other thing also is that don't lose that inner child of you. I lost it for a while, and in one of my things, that I don't lose that inner child, because that inner child in you is really who you are, the core, and
mhm.
regardless of the cutthroat of the corporate world, have that inner child in you, and don't lose that.
Yes, that is so much wisdom. Like, I feel like you could just like make a video just about inner child, but that would be another podcast. But yes, thank you so much for that wisdom and what you're saying. I agree that, a lot of times, going off of what you're saying, a lot of times people don't want to admit to help, but in reality, people want to help.
Yeah.
What was that? In
Sorry, it's
reality,
I'm sorry. Okay,
in
I
reality,
mute my phone, but it's the computer that's, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Good.
people want to help, and so it's not weakness to accept help. It's a strength in some ways. So thank you so much. I wish we had more time, but that is our time. But thank you so much for like your honesty, your wisdom. I know a lot of women will get a lot of help from this. And if you guys are going through anything like this, I would suggest reaching out to Michelle using her hashtag that's on her name. And we're going to link all of your links and sites and, stay up to date with the blog. But yes, thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you, Laura. It's always a pleasure having me, and I'm so humbled. Thank you for the opportunity to share my stories in your platform.
Yeah,
At your
no problem. Bye.
bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Embodied Revolution show. I'm so grateful that you're here, and I hope today's conversation really inspired you to step deeper into your own highest embodiment. If you loved what you heard, please take a moment to like, share, and follow. It's the best way to stay connected and be the first to know when new episodes drop. Until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and keep living from your soul's purpose.